Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review of this week's episode, which is episode 8 of 91 Days, and this one, I'm not gonna lie, was pretty damn freaking incredible. I bring up a lot, and I'm gonna do the normal breaking it down by part and giving my thoughts on each part, and giving my overall thoughts and score at the end, but before that I wanna, go over why I think this was incredible writing, and why this episode is one of the reasons that this show is a great show. And I think wait, the best way to describe it purely is just wait. And what I mean by that, I always bring up an episode of Hunter x Hunter, the anime, where there are two characters named Meruem and Welfin. There's a huge difference in power between the two. And the entire episode, the entire 30-minute episode, is just the two of them having a conversation. But the way it works is there's the huge power gap. Like, everybody viewing who's watched the series knows this. And everything that the one character says could mean just getting killed and annihilated in a second by the guy. So the entire time you're watching, and I saw so many people commenting the same thing that I thought after watching it. Man, I need a shower after watching that 30-minute conversation, because it was so intense. And what makes that heavy, and I'm going to use this as an example because it's on the extreme side of the heaviness scale, is every single word the guy spoke could have meant him either living or dying. All we saw was the two of them talking back and forth. We saw what he thought, how he was analyzing what the guy said to him, how he was analyzing what he was going to say next in order to try to not die or give anything away. And that was an incredible mind game. Every thought process he had going on, every word he said had a weight to it. It all meant life or death. It all had weight. And conversely, things that don't have weight, let's talk about the spectrum. Like One Piece, I would say, especially this arc, especially if you watch Zoe, there are certain moments where certain things are hidden or hinted at, but all of it has a place. All of it means something in the end. All of it's leading to something. So while it's not extremely weighty, it's just a few things throughout the arc that have significant impact on the future events. It is that is good writing. That is weight. Or Tower of God, things that were written 4 years ago are coming back into play now. That is weight. That is something that was said that was important, that makes a difference in the entire story. Now, two examples on the opposite side of what Hunter x Hunter has would be, say, Sword Art Online, that I always say I don't even like considering it an anime, because we've seen that Kirito can pretty much rewrite anything, and anything bad that happens, if the writers wanted him to, he could just plot BS his way and reverse anything that happened, technically. So there is no weight. Nothing anyone says or does has a permanent effect that can't be undone. It doesn't have any weight to it. Same with a problem I'm having with Fear the Walking Dead right now. There are inconsistencies, and if there are inconsistencies and this one thing doesn't match up to something else that happens next episode, then that inconsistency makes it so that what this person did 99% of the episode, the things that happened, the things that they said and didn't change anything irrevocably. They weren't heavy. And now, getting on to the actual topic of this episode, this was heavy because all of Corteo's emotions, everything he went through, whether he would have said anything, whether he stuck with them, betrayed them, whether we find out at the end that Fango dies, whether Fango lived or died, is a huge one that irrevocably changes the entire story from where we were going, from if he was alive or if he was dead. So every word that they went through, all of the different characters, as well as, Skusa dying, every single thing here led to something else. The sort of emotional split between Angelo and Corteo led to Corteo's betrayal, which led to the stuff with Fango, which led to Fango's death, which is obviously going to lead to even more future implications being irrevocably and completely changed from what they would have been had he been alive or made a different choice. And that's what's incredible writing, because every single decision made here, every single action the character took, what they said, None of it filled anything in. None of it was filler. None of it was just there and didn't lead anywhere. Everything had a meaning and led to something that changes where the story is going. And that's what makes it for a viewer very intense, because you know every single thing that happens you're worrying which decision is he going to make here, because the decision is going to change everybody else's lives in the story. Everything was incredibly, incredibly important. And that's what I think makes this incredible, incredible writing. So yeah, when we do start off, we actually see Corteo, and he hears what we heard at the end of last episode, or episode 7, and they also did it again at the episode of 7.5, where Angelo's telling Nero, "I'm your brother now." And that hits with Corteo, and we can see we have it conveyed to us as fans that Corteo feels betrayed. He feels like what we've already seen, where he feels like Angelo's revenge is going too far. And that's incredibly important as well. We see this new guy, Delphi, coming in that is going to be taking over for Scusa. He's from Chicago, and his targets are the Fongo family, who of course have really, really erupted and made their presence bigger. And also they have the island, which is pretty much a like hive of crime and scum right now. So again, incredibly important stuff. And he's also going after the Venettis, who we now have confirmation that Nero is running. So amazing, again, seeing Nero running it. And also weird that I was not expecting Vince to be pushed so much into the background in this story. But it's interesting the way they're doing it, and I love Nero's character, so I'm always happy to see more Nero scenes, you know. And this one, it just did so well at conveying emotion. And I think that's something else that's good, and it's not easy to do in anime a lot. And I think I brought it up in, I don't remember when I brought it up, but I think it was actually the end of One Piece's manga chapter this week, where I was like, they added something that gave it emotion, and it's hard to always give a fictional story, especially one that's not live action. It's hard to give it emotion. So I think that they did well at conveying what they were feeling and not just actions that were happening to them. So we then get to see Fongo for the first time in this episode, and I freaking love Fongo. He is the best. And he says something about taking down the Venettis. So again, that sort of is building towards, well, damn, there's only room for one. I personally like Fongo and his gang, and I like the Venetti, so it's like, okay, what's going to happen with this, with them trying to take each other out? Of course, it's the easy assumption to think Fongo's group is going to be taken out, because the Venettis are the main character, and we need to move them further in the plot for plot's sake. But still, it's just really interesting, and I love Fongo's voice actor. His voice actor just makes this. All the voice acting was great this episode, especially Corteo's, but Fongo's voice actor always kills it. And just going from there, we do see Corteo and Angelo, and they try to bribe the new guy, Delphi, and they kind of threaten him a little. None of it really works on him, though. So that all fails. And next we see the potential hints at Nero going down a dark path like Frate went. He had the dark circles under his eyes. And we actually see Angelo reaching out to him. Of course he's playing him and it's all part of his revenge plot, but the way he's reaching out to them, the way they've built the relationship is pretty incredible. And they talk about actually threatening to kill the family of the new guy, Delphi. They're actually planning to kill his family, so that's a dark turn. Of course, Corteo doesn't agree with it. So that pushes them even further down this sort of split road and adds more tension to it. Because we know that this is all going to come back. These relationships that are getting pulled apart or pushed closer together with Nero and Angelo and Corteo are all going to have effects. And later on, we actually do see Corteo with Chirato talking about how Fongo knows Prohibition's going to end soon. Fongo needs Corteo to make the alcohol, and they're going to make it rich once Prohibition's over. So from there we find out that Fongo actually, he he sells out where the lodge is, and now the Delphi dude is investigating the lodge. They now know where they're producing the Lawless Heaven. And all of this happens because Angelo pushes Corteo away, pretty much. He's pushing him away, don't see me again and whatever, and yet he's moving closer to Nero, and Corteo betrays them, we find out, because he wants to stop that. And I mean, you can definitely understand his motives. If Fongo takes out Nero and takes out the Venettis, then the revenge is over. They can all live happily ever after under Fongo's rule, sort of. So he's sort of making a deal with the devil to try to bring Angelo back from the brink of just pursuing his vengeance, like, in a crazy, dogged way. And the family of gosh, what was the new guy's name again? I don't even remember. I said it 1,000 times already. Delphi. Whatever. The Delphi's family is actually almost killed, but they do survive, and that's enough to scare him away from going after the lodge anymore. And we also see that Nero was almost killed as well by Fongo's men, so that keys Nero's group in that there's a traitor. And that we know Corteo's the traitor, but they have, like, gotten so paranoid and trying to figure out who it is, even when Uncle, I think his name is Gonzo or Gancho, I think it might be Gonzo, even when he shows up, Tigre, Barbaro, and Angelo won't even let him in. So Nero is just sequestered off until they figure out who the traitor is, and we actually see Corteo's paranoia driving him further and further down a path of alcoholism and darkness, because he notices that Barbaro and a bunch of the other guys are watching him. Guys from both sides, both Fongo's group and the Venettis, are just watching him, and all of this pressure on him adds so much emotion and adds so much tension, because it pushes Corteo down a path that makes him incredibly important. He becomes a key player, and before I didn't think he was that much of a key player, but this episode made him a central focus. Just this pushed him into the story would not be the same without his actions and feelings. So we see Scusa visit Fongo, and then we see Chirotto bring Corteo to Fongo. And when Corteo's there, he finds out Fongo got the recipe for Lawless Heaven from Scusa, and then he killed Scusa. And he at first goes and sort of threatens like he's going to kill Corteo, but then he's like, nah, I can just out you as a traitor, but I'll spare your life. So he goes to call and out him as a traitor, and Corteo turns on and kills Fongo in just an incredibly gruesome, bloody, and emotional scene. Like, Corteo is not the type to kill somebody. He was pushed so freaking far. The emotion and character progression was just beyond great. It was incredible. Like, I was not expecting all of this. And like I said, it makes Corteo a main player among main players within the story. So he took down Fongo, and just something that dark and bloody is like, if you see it in like a big like a huge fantasy world where kind of out there stuff happens in a show, it's one thing, but in a more gritty and realistic world like 91 Days is set in, the realism makes the brutality that much darker. And this episode as a whole, with the themes it dealt with, like the alcoholism, the emotion, the traitor, like being a traitor, the sort of internal relationships between them, possibly killing that family. This episode was one of the darkest and most intense episodes, definitely of the series. Like, I loved the stuff with episode 7 with Ronaldo and Frate's deaths, but I think this was even better just because that had great storytelling, but this had even better storytelling, plus it had that heavy, heavy tension. The entire time it was just a weight upon you watching what was going down, which is incredibly incredible. And also from a production standpoint, Corteo and Fongo's voice actors, all of the voice actors, but especially those two, were completely amazing this episode. The animation is always really good in my opinion, but this was even a step up from usual. And then the music was incredible. The music for Fango's death scene and him threatening Corteo, and the music for when Delphi first arrives and he's giving his speech to the press, both incredible. So production-wise, amazing. Story-wise, beyond amazing. This is honestly the best episode in my opinion so far. I didn't think I was going to say that like right after the episode with Ronaldo and Frate's deaths that I thought was really, really good at showing the spiraling down of Frate and really good character development wise. But this, the connection and the weight with it was just so on point. So definitely giving this one 10 bludgeonings out of 10. Like, this was heavy, guys, and it was incredible. Like, after watching it, I was like, I need a break for a second. That was pretty intense. But either way, curious to know what you guys thought of it. So like if you did like this video. It's a bit long for an anime review for me of a single episode, but this was, I feel like there was so much content to cover that it kind of required this amount of time. But yeah, either way, comment down there and tell me what you thought of this episode and what you thought of my thoughts of it. Subscribe for more 91 Days Taboo Tattoo, Fukigen, Mononoke, and a bunch more. Follow on Twitter if you want. I'll try to keep you updated there. I'm posting stuff or pushing stuff back. And that's it. So thank you once again for watching, everyone, and see you all next time.